Hey there guys, James Wilson here, and welcome to this week's episode of James Presents here on Who Addicts Reviews. It's almost the end of April. I hope all of you have scoffed your Easter eggs, if you've got any Easter eggs, because today I'm going to be concluding my Doctor Who character reviews with the one and only character that I feel can actually end these character reviews. Sit back guys as I talk about a true Doctor Who legend. It's the one and the only Sarah Jane Smith, portrayed by Elizabeth Sladen. This is going to be an emotional one, especially for me. Roll the titles. Oh, come on guys, let's keep it together. Let's not fall apart. Today I'm going to be talking about Sarah Jane Smith, portrayed by Elizabeth Sladen, and who else can play this fantastic character. Her first appearance was in 1973 with The Time Warrior, which I feel incredibly honoured to own, because it says, because funny thing is, when buying the DVD for the first time, there was one thing that attracted me to it, which was a huge sticker on the front saying Sarah Jane's First Adventure, and it really sort of says her legacy in a nutshell, because she has such a huge cult following with the show and such a huge impact that you think to yourself, when you see her first episode as a companion, you're like, oh my god, I've got to have this. So I went out and got it, and I've not regretted it, because The Time Warrior, it's her origins. It's her, well, technically, there've been quite a few episodes in the Sarah Jane Adventures where it's shown her origins and when she was a baby and when she was a teenager and stuff. So there is stuff in the Sarah Jane Adventures based way back even before the Time Warrior. So scratch that bit. But the Time Warrior was the first time we ever met her, and really, it's just amazing the fact that, you know, I think the reason why she made such a huge impact on us, but also at the very same time made such a huge impact on the Doctor. When you see that the Doctor likes someone, you kind of feel obligated to like her as well, and you just fall in love with her from the very first minute. You know, she's a suspicious young journalist who feels quite you know, like she's got the lead on something. You know, like all journalists do. She's very suspicious, and she's used a fake name and everything, and a fake ID and stuff like that. So she's young, she's feisty, she's cocky, and she's determined to get what she wants. And the Doctor admires that in her, and there's the Doctor sat with his feet up on the desk, and there's his fingers just on the tip of his lips, and just going, I like you, you're interesting, you know. And then the Doctor goes whizzing off to Viking times or whatever, medieval times, and Sarah Jane's following him there. And she it takes Sarah Jane obviously a while to adjust to a different time period, like all companions, but she definitely sort of adjusted to it in a way that I don't think I've seen any other companion do. You know, she doesn't. Her first thought of the Doctor isn't that he's amazing. It isn't that he's mysterious. Well, it is that he's mysterious, but her first thought is basically, this guy's a bad guy. Let's get after him. You know, she has the wrong impression of him, but it's incredibly strange to have that sort of impression of the Doctor. I don't think we've ever actually had that sort of reaction before, where a companion sort of has a sort of bad interpretation of this man. You know, and I think it's really, really beautiful and really strange. You know, you look forward like 30 years, and Sarah Jane and the Doctor, they adore each other. Really, they do. And in Skull Reunion, that moment where Sarah Jane's oblivious that that's the Doctor, and the Doctor just looks at her, and he just is stunned, in fact shocked and happy at the same time. You know, it's just brilliant. And you think back to the Time War, and you think, really? Really? Because I really, because the Sarah Jane starts off hating you, and now he adores you. You know, that's the sort of thing that we didn't really get very much with a companion before, or I think after her, and it's something really, really brilliant. And one thing I'll say is that she has probably the greatest character development of this show's history, because if you look back in the classic series, there've been some stories where obviously she's kind of like trapped, and she's about to get almost killed by an alien or poisoned or something like that, and she's screaming for the Doctor's name. Whereas if you fast forward to the Sarah Jane adventures, she's the one who's actually walking into trouble, and it's really quite a brilliant sort of bit of character development. You know, you can tell that Sarah Jane has sort of been hardened by the Doctor leaving her back in the Hand of Fear, and the Doctor and Sarah Jane is really sort of hurt by that, but she's used that hurt well. You know, loads of people like Rose have used that hurt of leaving the Doctor as, you know, running off to go and find him, or, you know, all that crap. But Sarah Jane, she had used the Doctor sort of leaving her. She's used that to her advantage. You know, she's used that as sort of, right, the Doctor isn't everything in my life. You know, and the Doctor did offer for her to come and travel with him again, back in School Reunion, but she chose no. She chose to like stay. You know, and that is really something quite admirable. You know, being hurt by someone that you love. You know, it can you all you either want to do is lash out in anger at them, or you just want to sit down and cry. She did neither. You know, she sort of embraced it and sort of got on with her life a little bit, and it's really, really amazing that this character has done so much in those 30 years. So if you look from The Hand of Fear, that young girl with beautiful black hair, lovely teethy grin, and the most beautiful smile, one of the most beautiful smiles I think I've ever seen, and she's there in her overalls and handy pandy outfit, and really she's and then she leaves with a potted plant in her hand and an owl backpack, you know, and then she leaves there, and then she comes back, and she's investigating these Krillitane creatures, and she's back to that suspicious way that she used to be back in the Time Warrior. So there are definitely these callbacks, and I think her character development has definitely been something admirable and just downright brilliant. Now, before I actually go on to the subject of the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane, let me just say I'm just going to sprinkle over this subject because I have said it so many times before, and I said it in my 12 Doctors count in our 12 Doctors countdown with the Fourth Doctor. So I'm going to try and not repeat myself. But you can't do a video on Sarah Jane Smith without actually talking about it, because oh my god, I'm actually starting to get emotional now. Come on, please help together. Yeah, well, the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane, that was that pairing. When you think of a Doctor and a companion, it's those two that you think about running around time and space together, and it's the Fourth Doctor who sort of influenced Sarah Jane to be the nosy journalist that we knew her as. You know, the Doctor was sort of a bad influence on her in a way, because the Fourth Doctor was the one dashing about and getting into trouble, and the Fourth Doctor in some cases was incredibly annoying. And I think Sarah Jane sort of rubbed off on her, and he's one of those best friends where they're sort of like a bad influence on you, but you think they're a good lad anyway, and that's kind of what the Fourth Doctor is, really, to Sarah Jane, because he is sort of a bad influence on her, but he's gotten her into trouble, and vice versa. You know, it's just such a great, you know, back and forth between the two, and the best scene between the two. And this is the last thing I'm going to say about them, because, like I said, I've said so much about them. The my favourite actual scene with them in together isn't with any alien. It's just in the TARDIS corridors where the Fourth Doctor, I believe it was the Mask of Mandragora, I'm not too sure, and the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane are just walking through the TARDIS corridors, and the Doctors, and they're just sorting out some sort of complicated scientific sum or something like that, and Sarah Jane says something like, "That's impossible," and the Doctor just says, you human beings, you have such tiny, limited minds. I have no idea why I like you so much." And then Sarah Jane just gleefully says, "Well, that's because you have such great taste." And then the Doctor says, "That's true." You know, it's just such a brilliant back and forth between them, and and if you think of Sarah Jane, you think of the Fourth Doctor, and vice versa with the Fourth Doctor. So it's just they had such a great chemistry together, and it was to get even better with the Sarah Jane Adventures. Now, when the show came back in 2005, I think it was obvious to the writing staff and to the BBC that a classic companion had to come back, and I think there was only one companion on their mind, which was of course Sarah Jane Smith. One, Elizabeth Sladen had barely aged at all. You could still recognise her, the rare few wrinkles, but she still looked just as radiant and just as beautiful as the last time you saw her. And when Toby Whithouse and Sarah Jane, I can imagine that Toby Whithouse and Sarah Jane probably, I'm saying her as though she's real, sorry. Toby Whithouse and Elizabeth Sladen probably sat down and talked about where Sarah Jane would be at this point, and I think they both knew that there was only one thing that Sarah Jane Smith would be doing after life with the Doctor, and that would be journalism. You know, just sort of looking for justice and sort of looking for the suspicious things, and that's just something that I think had to happen. And there are just all sorts of scenarios that I think went on in their heads that just thought, right, that's got to happen. That's television gold. That is, and when Sarah Jane decided to when Sarah Jane came back, K9 had to. You know, K9 is just amazing. You know, I actually want him to come back now. Obviously, sadly, Sarah Jane can't, but K9 can. You know, I really want K9 to come back because that's the last piece of Sarah Jane we've got left, and you know, I just think that it would be brilliant for K9 to come back. Anyway, Sarah Jane, I think she was the only companion that I think could have possibly returned, and that beautiful moment when the Doctor and Sarah Jane see each other for the first time, and Sarah Jane is oblivious to the fact that the Doctor is right in front of him, and is right in front of her, and the Doctor recognizes her straight away. He's just like, oh my god, it's her, Sarah Jane. It's a blast from the past for him, and also he's very happy as well, and it brings up old feelings. And one of the other scenarios that I think they knew had to happen was Rose and Sarah Jane arguing, because Rose, she is one jealous bitch. She's jealous of she's jealous of Linda, you know. She's jealous of Linda shaking the Doctor's hand. You know, that face in Parting of the Ways where all the Doctor did was just shake her hand, and oh my god, don't even get me started. But I think Sarah Jane and Rose, them arguing just had to happen, and that beautiful moment in the computer room also where they sort of make amends with each other, and they find out that there's actually more in common with each other than they think, you know, and Sarah Jane finally sort of gets closure, you know, finally gets closure on where the Doctor is, the fact that he's not dead, you know, the fact that he's actually out there saving the universe, and Sarah Jane decides to do the same, you know, and it's incredible, and the Sarah Jane Adventures was the school reunion was sort of the beginning of a new era for her. I don't think she ever thought in a million years that she'd ever come back full time to Sarah Jane. I just thought that she probably just thought that, you know, I'll come back to it, you know, but rarely, but she came back to it, in fact dedicated her final years to the character, and really it's just quite amazing how she did that. And with the Sarah Jane Adventures, we got to know a lot more about Sarah Jane Smith, and obviously we had Torchwood as well, but Sarah Jane Adventures was a just stroke of genius writing from Russell. You know, the fact that Sarah Jane moved into a new house, and she was just as much of a mystery to her neighbours as the Doctor was to everyone else. You know, it was just absolutely beautiful, and it's quite strange because the Doctor's a mystery to everyone. Captain Jack was a mystery to Gwen Cooper when that first started, and Sarah Jane was a mystery to Maria when she first came to the road, and really I think it's just a brilliant piece of writing that Russell had done brilliantly with Torchwood, Doctor Who, and Sarah Jane, making the main characters a mystery. And even when we know them, you know, we had met Sarah Jane once before this, modern viewers did anyway, and Captain Jack, we had knew him in series 1, so making these characters mysteries when we already know who they are, you find them even more mysterious, you know? You're like, I already know who Captain Jack is, I already know who Sarah Jane is, but oh my god, I still want to know who she is. You know, it's something just absolutely fantastic. And Sarah Jane with the Sarah Jane Adventures, that sort of acted as a sort of prequel to her life, really, because there were some episodes starring like the Trickster, where that episode where Sarah Jane, we actually got to find out that Sarah Jane's parents had actually died in a car crash, and Sarah Jane has the chance to is actually tricked into stopping that from happening, and she ends up jeopardizing the entire universe, and it just shows that Sarah Jane isn't as pristine and perfect as we thought. She makes mistakes as well, although she's like 50 odd, 50 odd years old. She still makes mistakes, and she still makes very human mistakes. And to me, that was an absolutely brilliant episode. And episodes like The Wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, it shows that Sarah Jane wants to be loved and she wants to be sort of appreciated, and also there are just some other fantastic stories that just goes deeper into the character, and that's something that spin-offs do incredibly well. You know, that's the whole point of a spin-off, getting to know a character better. You know, her backstory is just amazing. You know, I just love the Sarah Jane Adventures, although I didn't watch it all that much because, you know, I didn't really have that much interest in the CBBC channel, but I've really got to go back and watch more episodes because Owen's been watching them. Owen Salmons has been watching quite a lot of her episodes, and I'd really go back and watch the Sarah Jane Adventures because I've really been underappreciating that series, and the fact that the Sarah Jane Adventures was the final testament to this character and this brilliant actress, and I think that this character is just going to live on in my heart and hopefully your hearts for years and years to come. Now time to conclude my character of Sarah Jane Smith. Sorry. The actress Elizabeth Sladen had given the character of Sarah Jane Smith such versatile opportunities, and no other actress could have possibly played her. The evolution of the character had progressed through the 30 to 40 years or so that she had been off screen, from The Hand of Fear to School Reunion. The character had developed brilliantly. In the classic series, she was quite vulnerable at times, and was quite vulnerable to alien encounters and would get kidnapped quite a lot. But when it came down to the modern series and her own spin-off, she was the one running into trouble and causing problems for her enemies. Her suspicious ways was the thing that interested the Doctor the most in the very beginning in the Time Warrior, and it's the thing that we will remember most about her. The thing I will remember most about Elizabeth Sladen is her determination to save planet Earth. The Doctor had rubbed off on her like every other companion had before and after her, but she used it in a different way. She didn't use it to go after the Doctor. She didn't use it to try and find him. She used it for the betterment of mankind. And her experiences with the Doctor had actually been an asset to her through her entire life. Elizabeth Sladen, you are missed by the entire fandom, and you are undoubtedly, surely, and always will be my favourite ever companion. Thank you guys for watching. Let's answer a few comments. Now I'm going to be answering a few comments from last week's character review, which was of Craig Owens, portrayed by James Corden. My first comment is from Exterminate. Good to hear from her. She says, I loved Craig Owens in The Lodger, but I agree he works best with the 11th Doctor. I think he needs to return, but I don't know how he would be with Capaldi's Doctor. I am also not sure how Capaldi's Doctor would be now that Stormy is a bit older. Yeah, that is something I kind of struggled to come to terms with. The fact that I always held out hope that but this was like before Matt had announced he was leaving. I always held out hope that Craig Owens would come back, but now that Matt's left, I really don't know, because I'm not saying that Capaldi wouldn't be hilarious living a normal, ordinary life, but he's not that sort of comedic Doctor to make that sort of format work, really. That format of episode, that sort of way that the Craig Owens trilogy would work, that sort of wouldn't really pan out as much as it did with the 11th Doctor, because I think that one of the big aspects of The Lodger and Closing Time, for Stephen Moffat's point of view, was that it was hilarious, downright hilarious, to think of the 11th Doctor living a normal, ordinary life. Anything normal is hilarious for the 11th Doctor. You know, you let him live in a flat for a couple of days. He drives James Corden mad. He ends up playing football surprisingly brilliantly, but then he ends up creating something mental in his room, and then in Closing Time he ends up actually getting a job. The Doctor getting a job, I mean, it's really just bizarre, and the 12th Doctor doing all of that, I don't think that would work for that sort of episode. You know, I still hope that Craig Owens will come back, but I think that Gareth Roberts can definitely sort of bring together a new sort of chemistry between a much older Doctor and Craig Owens, because like I said, it was brilliant how James Corden sort of brought the normality out in the Doctor a little bit, and the humanity in him, and I thought that was brilliant, and hopefully one day that can happen. And about Stormy, I really don't know, because Stormy will be about 4 years old, so I think that they can still have the chemistry that the Doctor and Stormy did. My second comment is from Parachute Walker, who says Craig is a very good character, and I love how his relationship with the Doctor gets the Doctor into the human-type scenarios. Yes, I agree, I love that. Like you said, I'm wondering if maybe the Craig Owens trilogy, thank you for calling it the Craig Owens trilogy, I seem to have started something there, but will be concluded in Gareth Roberts' episode for Series 8, seeing as it is his last script was Closing Time. Yes, Gareth Roberts is writing an episode for Season 8, but I highly doubt that it's anything with Craig Owens, because I think they're already starting production on Gareth Roberts' episode. I'm not too sure, I'm just working off rumours and certain press releases, but I do hope that, like I've said before, Craig Owens does return, but I'm not too sure what the chemistry between the two would be like now, with a completely different Doctor and so forth. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Gareth Roberts is great at that sort of thing of, you know, bringing a normal human being into adventurous life, and while also at the same time bringing the Doctor into normality. It's a strange contrast, but it works incredibly well. So I hope Gareth Roberts, if not bringing Craig Owens back, I do hope that he does something similar with a different character. My next comment is from Wesley McCammon, good to hear from him, who says, I think one of the most attractive parts of Doctor Who is the fact that normal people get caught up in the adventure. I love how you put normal in quotation marks. An air hostess, a sailor, a space pilot, a boyfriend, a teacher, a journalist, a soldier, a waitress, etc. Craig is another everyday guy who had an incredible experience, and that is what makes him seem so familiar. Owen is all of us. I am thinking he'll be back. I hope Moffat has learnt his lesson for Series 8. We will see. Great job. Thank you very much. And honestly, I couldn't have put it better myself. This is something that Russell did rather well up until Series 4, where Russell suddenly decided to play about with his own formula a little bit and make Donna Noble destined to save the universe. And with that, it kind of transpired into future episodes where in Series 5, Amy was destined to, you know, save the universe and bring the Doctor back, and then Clara was destined to save the Doctor. She was born to save the Doctor and all this. So I think Moffat and Russell had his normal human being getting caught up in adventure, like Wesley said, but also Stephen Moffat has his formula of, you know, people are destined to save the universe, it's their destiny and all this crap. And I admit Russell's, I prefer Russell's sort of formula for the way he writes the series, because I can relate to it, you know? That's why I think there is a hell of a lot of earthly episodes set in modern day in Russell's era, because we can relate to that. We can actually close our eyes and think, wow, that could easily be me. You know, that's why he makes the characters who they are, you know. Rose, just an ex-shop assistant. Martha, a trainee doctor, you know, and Donna, a temp from Chiswick. You know, just all these really incredibly normal people, and they get caught up in such brilliant adventures, and that's something really, really beautiful. And I couldn't have put it better myself, Wesley, but I just hope Moffat, you're right, I hope he has learned his lesson for season 8, that the whole, you know, destined to save the universe thing, it's starting to get a bit old. Sorry, can I just say very quickly, Andre Hoskin had responded to Wesley McCammon's comment saying, except nobody likes the air hostess. I'm guessing you're talking about Tegan. Tegan Javanka, oh my god, thank you for that comment. That has actually made my day. Well done. That actually made me laugh incredibly. Well done. Thank you, Andre Hoskin. My final comment is from the Whovian03, our good friend Kieran, I believe, who me and Matthew met with the Host Productions, aka Ben Lett, over in Scarborough a couple of weeks ago. Nice to hear from you. He says, I'm not sure why Craig gets so much hate. He's a really good character. I'd love to see him return, but maybe for the last time. It would be great to see how he reacts to Capaldi, and maybe Craig could get killed off. I wonder how that would affect the Doctor. Well, we all know Moffat's way of thinking, you know, nobody dies. You know, it's a really very boring way to think of the universe. You know, if you're travelling with the Doctor, if you're travelling in the universe fighting monsters, people are going to die. And the only person I think I've ever seen Moffat kill off was a rare few people. And on top of that, just that Hope character, was it Hope? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what the character was, but that woman in the glasses, in the Impossible Astronaut, that woman who got killed by a Silent. I think she was like the only character that Moffat like ever written down to die at one point. You know, so I think it's incredibly boring the way Moffat's starting to think of the universe now. Nobody dies, it's all happy, you know. But now that Capaldi's the Doctor, I'm hoping that Moffat sort of gets to grips with it and sort of thinks, right, a universe where nobody dies, that doesn't suit Capaldi's Doctor whatsoever. Capaldi's Doctor would react brilliantly to someone dying. My god, I can just imagine it now. Someone dies and Capaldi tries to avenge them, and Clara makes him see sense. That would just be absolutely amazing. I mean, I think Capaldi will change Moffat's way of thinking. The fact that Matt was such a happy-go-lucky, joyful character, I think that's the reason why Moffat had such a joyful way of thinking about his writing. But now that Capaldi's a much darker, much more broodier Doctor, I do think that that killing someone off would be sort of Moffat's way to go now. I think killing someone isn't beyond him anymore. So hopefully Capaldi will change Moffat's way of writing. And as for killing Craig off, no, I think Craig is in a happy place at the minute with his girlfriend Lucy and Stormageddon. So I think he's got a very happy life. So let's not disrupt it. So then guys, that's it for this week's episode of James Presents. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already for some great videos over the next coming days. Also, please comment in the section below what you guys think about the character of Sarah Jane Smith. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that there will be a load of heartwarming and emotional things to say about the character, and I look forward to answering those next week as I begin a new video series here on the channel called Doctor Who, the story arcs of the modern series. I cannot wait to get started on that. I will be talking about each story arc of the modern series and how important it is for story arcs in Doctor Who, because since Series 7 they've kind of lost the meaning of what a story arc actually means to a series. So hopefully you guys will like that. And please visit our website, brilliantly created by Jacob Martin. I will put a link to that on the screen below. Yeah, I actually mean it this time. I will put a link down below there. I forgot to last week. Sorry about that. So then guys, you guys have been watching Whoadicts Reviews, and I'll see you on Wednesday where me and Matthew will continue our 12 Doctors countdown, and it's number 2. I'll see you guys then.